And good morning. Welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I am Ken Walls and I'm your host. And I have a very special guest on today. Somebody that I recently met. I don't know. We've been friends on Facebook now for I don't know, maybe 6 months or so, maybe a little longer. But this guy, from everything I've seen and heard and watched, and I did get to meet him, and we got a selfie or two together at the 10X Growth Conference. I want to welcome my new buddy, Dan Moore, to the show. Dan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Ken. Glad to be here. Finally, being on this the show, and thank you for having me. I'm excited. We're gonna have some fun today.
Yeah, man. So, like, you've been, we haven't been friends for a long time, right? I mean, it's like I said, 6 or 8 months maybe. But Anthony Alagona's on. Hey, Anthony, Colleen Reynolds is on. What's going on? So, but what I've seen from you so far is unbelievably impressive. So, I know you're in California, so it's a little bit earlier out there than it is here. But I want to thank you for getting up early.
Oh, stop! It's 8 o'clock, man. If you're not up by now, you're not moving. Come on.
I know. So with so I told you I started this show to help people have a breakthrough in life. And I've been there, we've all been there, where you hit a wall and you just get stuck. You don't know what to do. And some people stay stuck for life, right?
Right.
So I think that through hearing other people's stories of hitting those walls and how they got around them or under them or over them, I think that's empowering, right? Or through, or right, or get out some dynamite and blow them up or whatever, right? So,
right.
So let's talk about, start with where you were born and raised.
Yeah. So technically born in Redwood City, California.
Okay.
Raised most of my life in Santa Cruz, California, and then went to Fresno, and then landed in Sacramento, where I live today.
Okay. So Santa Cruz is where you went to high school, all that, elementary school?
Elementary, high school. I did most of my high school in Fresno.
Okay. And what was it like for you growing up? Did you have the perfect, like, Leave It to Beaver home and all that?
Yeah, it's funny. I have a simple story. I mean, my parents were separated at a young age. Lived with my mom and my stepdad majority of my life. So, got into the car business because my stepdad got in at 18, had his own dealership, and then progressed into other dealerships, and then got into RVs. So, auto's always been near and dear. I would say, we had that car business life. I mean, he went to work and came home. He went to work before we got up, and he came home after we went to bed because, that's what that life is.
Right.
But it's a fun one. It's funny story as I went through, graduated high school, and kind of, that next step in life. But, somehow I magically at 19 started selling cars. Funny.
Really? And that's what your stepdad did, though. He sold cars?
Yep.
Okay.
And a great mentor. I mean, he really, challenged and pushed me to get through walls, because no matter what, you're going to run into a wall.
Right.
If you say you never ran into a wall, then you're not moving hard enough, because walls come up all the time.
That's right.
They come up in politics. I mean, look, walls come up all the time.
Yeah.
So
right.
So we're always challenged by walls.
Right.
The question is that what is it you're trying to push through? What is it you want to accomplish? And what's your why? And I think once you establish your why, that's how you start to break through walls. And trust me, we get into ruts. I would say through most of my career, I've had several different steps where it's just like, okay, do I just cash out here and just walk away because I can't do this? You self-doubt, man, it's a killer.
Yeah, it is. I agree. So so at 19 years old, you graduated high school at 19 or 18?
At right around 18.
At what? Sorry.
17 and a half, 18, whatever you want to call it. No worries.
We had a
18.
hiccup there. How old you said? 18, 19?
18.
Okay. So at 19 you started selling cars.
Yep.
And how did that go for you?
Well, let's put it this way. That was the time where it was really fun. I believe my start as a green pea was my assistant manager at the time coming up behind me and throwing me at a car.
Wow. Really?
Those were the good days.
Yeah,
those were the good days where you went into a sales meeting and the owner came in with a bunch of sales license and started chucking them and told you where you could go.
Really? Wow.
Oh, yeah, it was good times.
Wow.
There really was, those mythical stories that they talk about. Those really were true. They really did happen.
Yeah. Hey, I'm getting some static on your end. I don't know what that's. I don't know if it's the. Are you using your AirPods?
I've got my AirPod in right now. Yeah.
Is that okay? I was just getting.
But you sound clear on my end.
Okay. So we'll work through it. It'll be fine. So you started selling cars at 19. Did you have some success doing that?
Yeah. I mean, everybody has a different level of determining success. I mean, I would say success from the car business for me was you learn rejection really good, right?
Yeah.
You get thick skin.
Yeah.
And that's, kind of one of the things when people, I think I was talking to Frank Lopes and we were talking about, do you recommend the car business to people? I'm like, yeah, because it builds character. You get some thick skin. You've got to deal with a lot of moving parts that aren't exactly pleasant.
Right.
So, getting through that, at first I sucked. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was horrible.
Right.
But it took a couple years to get in the seat fighting it, again, hitting a wall, right? Like, this isn't for me. I've never, someone just in my face all the time yelling at me, telling me to go do something is not what anybody's designed for, right?
Right.
Like, were you in the military?
Yeah, right.
But we got through it and progressed through it. I mean, sold cars, was a closer, assistant manager, worked my way up to, running a Subaru Volkswagen store in the Bay Area for a while. And then, found my way to the vendor side of life, which I've been for quite some time, but, still stay close to the roots of the car business.
Now, when so you got, how long did you sell? How long were you in car sales?
What, 19, let's see, so 19, I think I left right about, I think I went to the vendor side right around when I turned 40.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So you've only been in the vendor side?
No, hold on. Let me back that up. Man, years started going. So I got out right at, on the vendor side, almost 10 years, so 35. Yeah, there we go. They're back into that a little bit.
Okay. So you
making me work this morning, Ken.
Yeah, I know, right? Let's do some math here, man. Come on. It's yeah. But so you sold for how long then? So I sold for what, 10, I don't know, 15, I would say about 10, 15 years. Wow. And it sounds like it did pretty well for you. But so I'm good friends with Frank Cranitti, right? And that dude's doing 100 cars a month, which is
him, Ali. There's some people that are redefining what the world did.
I know.
And I also think too is that what's really cool about this time, in the space is the transparency. I mean, if you think about, I always laugh. I tell, people all the time, like when I was a Green Pea, it was like, here's a stack of business cards, go out to the mall and put them on windshields.
Right.
We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have Instagram. We didn't have Twitter. We didn't have this means of mass deployment and reach. Right. We had to go you had to physically go places to meet people or smile and dial out of the phone book.
Yeah.
That way phone book was your Facebook.
Yep. I know, man. I know.
And what's cool is that even in the auto space, short of watching videos now, you can just jump on social media and you can interact with other performers. So that's, usually you were just interacting with the top performers in your store, which they're like, yeah, I'm not giving you all the trades because I want to make all the money. So it's definitely, times have changed, which is fantastic. And I think everybody's at a bigger advantage than back years back.
Yeah, right. I totally agree. I mean, that's how, I don't think, and again, I don't know, but I don't think Ali is using a lot of social media stuff to push his numbers. I don't think he does it a whole lot.
No, but the ability to see him,
yes.
for other salespeople, people in the industry, that's the win.
Right.
Is that you can see and hear about, hey, there's a guy that's doing big numbers. Because the deal. Someone says, hey, there's a guy selling cars. You're like, X number of cars. You're like, I'm going to call BS. Car guys, we're skeptics, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, heck, I even saw somebody on Lundy's Rise and Grind talking about Sales Hustlers. Like, did Dan Cummins really sell 1,000 cars? It's like, are you kidding me right now? It's all over social media. Like, there's plenty of validation.
Right.
It's not fake news.
Right. But like Frank Creniti, I know he does use social media a lot, right? And the guys that are out here doing, and gals, I don't want to, segregate. So it's the guys and gals that are using social media and building those relationships that are really doing well.
Agreed.
So you got into, so you were in car sales, then at 35-ish, you decided to get into the vendor side. What does that mean? I'm not in the car business, right?
Yep. I got you. So transitioned to funny enough, back at the time, Cobalt, now CDK. Went over there, worked on their sales team, and then found my way to a website company in Sacramento. It was a digital marketing agency called Smart Web Concepts. Ran that for a while before going to Vin Solutions at Cox Automotive Property. Spent 5 years at Cox Automotive, and then went to, Brian and Pash and I have been good friends for over a decade, and we got to talking. So he's like, hey, got this ROI bot, seemed to be VistaDash. What are your thoughts? And we got to talking, and then I went over and took that over and went to work. And so then here we are today.
What is that though? What does the company do for dealers?
Yep. So VistaDash simply is it's taking all the data that's coming in, right? I think dealers are swimming in data. When it comes to marketing. How do I know it's working? We just provide actionable insights and outcomes to help them make better marketing decisions. Because again, there's point of waste. You can basically spend a lot with Google and not get returns. So how much is enough? And there's a lot of these variables, and not even car business. Let's just talk marketing. There's a point of diminishing return, meaning I can throw all the money at it. It doesn't mean I'm going to get the return.
Right.
So, we help solve those marketing points and help them maximize their spend through an easy to use, if you want to call it, dashboard. I call it marketing intelligence platform because everybody's got a dashboard. But hey, I'm just shining it up a little bit.
Right. So, sorry. I still have the remnants of that dang cold or whatever, but so you went into the vendor space to help dealers basically use the data that they're getting in a more fiscally responsible way.
Agreed. Yeah, it's funny because that was kind of my transition point. Is I love tech.
Yeah.
A little bit of a geek.
Yeah.
Love marketing. Marketing was really kind of the drive for me.
Yeah.
And so going into the digital marketing side, going through that whole piece and then transitioning into data, it just was natural progression. Again, you talk about walls. It's like it just all kind of tumbled down and goes, hey, this is that navigation point, working through life. So
right.
Here we are.
And obviously you've had the process, the dashboard, the systems that you have in place, they work.
Oh, they work. And the other thing too, I would be missing the boat if I didn't say so do people.
Right.
I count myself at VisDash extremely blessed to have some amazing people that make it sticky. The dashboard's one piece of it, but so are our people. We have market strategists that work with dealers on a monthly basis because, again, you got to humanize it.
Yeah. Right. I agree.
It's still a relationship business and always will be.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. I was talking with my friend Jeffrey Gitomer. I don't know if you know who Gitomer is. Wrote the Little Red Book of Selling, but he's a great guy, and him and his fiance just recently bought a Tesla, and he said. He said, "Man, they made it so simple." And he said, "I think that there's going to come a point in time when car salespeople are not going to be what they are today. Like it's going to be like if people start following the Tesla model. I don't know that that's ever going to happen, but he seems to be convinced that it's going to. So I don't know."
I think here's what I believe. I think everybody's different. Everybody has a different way that they want to go through a process.
Right.
So there are those that go, I want the path of least resistance Tesla model. I mean, and quite frankly, not everybody wants a Tesla.
Right.
So there's that point. There's some people that go, hey, listen, I don't care what you say, what one price, how easy you want it. I'm going to grind you because I like to negotiate. It's fun.
Right.
I'm here to just make you work. And I don't mind sitting in a dealership for 8 hours. There are people that literally don't mind it.
I know.
So but we get into, I think auto suffers a one-dimension problem in the sense that a lot of people get on this bandwagon or fear-mongering of, it's only going to be this way. You can only do it this way. Right. It's like, really? Because if we went around the room, I'm pretty sure we'd find out there are people that like to pick up the phone and have a conversation. There are people that like to go face-to-face. There's people that like to text. Everybody has a different means of how they like to communicate and interact. So to make a blanket statement, there's only one way to buy a car. There are people going to be like, I'll pass.
Hey, by the way.
I mean, CarMax tried to do
that. We have, besides you being a huge celebrity, we have the amazing Lisa Copeland on here. She just said, won't happen until franchise laws change.
Yeah, and Lisa, you know that those aren't changing.
Right.
People still gotta vote on that.
Right.
So I mean, again, there's so many different pieces to it, but let's be honest. There are dealers doing it the right way that people love to buy cars from. I mean, there's a reason Ali has a referral network and just sells cars off of friends. So you can't tell me that it doesn't work. There are people making it work. Frank, he's making it work. He sells a lot of cars. Like it's just so mind-boggling that everybody wants to try and shove, the square peg in the round hole. It's only going to be this way. No, it's not.
It's and look, I've been years ago. I've been partners with Google for Google AdWords and Google Apps for Business for a long time, and I remember I had this attorney client that I had him organically ranked at the top of Google, but then he's like, well, these guys with these ads running are kicking my butt now and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, let's get into some good. And dude, in Columbus, Ohio, where it is like there's an attorney every 5 feet. And the rate for running ads on Google AdWords are like $50 a click. Like it was insane. And I'm like, dude, that's talk about the law of diminishing returns. Like you better have a really, really good hook if you want somebody to click on that ad. So, I've seen that, and I know you have. I've been in digital marketing for a long, long time. And I think that man, would you agree with this? There's been some massive shifts in that industry, like with Google.
Well, with Google, there's massive shifts going 100%. I mean, and that's what sometimes I think people don't pay attention to either because it's kind of snuffed out a little bit. Nobody wants to air the dirty laundry at times.
Yeah.
Well, hold on one sec.
Okay. No problem.
Nothing like locking your wife out of the house.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my God. Oh, Dan just locked his wife out of the house. That's too funny.
She goes to drop the girls off at school, and I guess I locked the door. So
Whoops. Yeah,
whoopsie.
I've done that. Yeah, we've been there. So we're getting some laughs on that one, dude. So
I'm sure, and I'm sure Lisa's laughing the most because she.
Yeah, that's funny, man. So there's been some major shifts with the online digital marketing space, especially because look, I used to be one of the top organic SEO people in the world, and then if you remember about 3 years ago, Google was like, I mean, they didn't come out and say it, but they were like, hey, if you want to play, you got to pay. And they changed all of the algorithms for organic listings. And I watched my business go like that because it was just impossible to keep up with all their algorithm changes. Like, what are some of the things that you've seen that have affected dealers that you've worked with in big changes like that in the digital marketing?
I think on the digital side, some of the big changes is as you get more of the data to connect and stitch, you start looking at correlation to inventory versus marketing spend. Even looking at traditional, a lot of people are like, oh, 100% digital, traditional's dead. It's like, no, the data doesn't lie on that one. I mean, we've been able to see in some cases, I mean, I've seen radio increase organic traffic by 20%. I mean, there are some, when you really start to stitch the data together and really look at it and make it actionable, it changes the whole outcome. And I've seen some cases where it's like dealers overspending and just doesn't have the inventory.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go market Camrys all day long till you're blue in the face, but if you're number 6 in allocation and sitting there on the lot with the lowest amount, the guy down the street with all the selection and got you beat by 10 times, he's gonna sell more. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Customer's gonna come, look, you don't have it, move on. You can sit there and say, hey, we can dealer trade, we can order it, we can do whatever. We're in the right now business. People want to see, touch, and feel it right now.
And that's not any different than 30 years ago, is it?
No, I don't think it's different. I just think that the conversations have changed. People have, in some cases, used the data to benefit their story.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nothing new, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Ben didn't tell you got the story you want. That's some of the challenge that we face,
Right.
That's why Google's getting those big checks.
Google,
and I'm not saying that and again, somebody's like, Dan said cancel Google. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there's a responsibility to find the spread. Right. There is a marketing mix. Everybody's trying to chase attribution and use big words and buzzwords. It's like, no, how about let's just simplify it? What's the right marketing mix for your dealership? That's what you should be looking for.
Right.
Is trying to figure out and stitch that piece together. What pieces you need? Who's my average buyer? What age group do I hit in on different models, right?
Right.
So in some cases I need to do Facebook, some cases I need to do Google, some cases I need to do some traditional. I mean, you just got to look at your consumer and talk to them.
Right. So with the Lisa said, "Oh, that's the nice way to call total BS on some vendors."
Well, you know me, at least I'm just a nice guy. I mean, that's why people like me. I'm not
Right.
I don't need to punch people in the face and give them a black eye. I'm just going to give a nice little nudge and say, really?
Right.
Come on.
Right. So, and I've had these conversations with Lisa. I mean, ironically, I'm not in the car business, but my very first professional website was for a Mercedes-Benz dealership here in Columbus. And I've seen, again, massive changes in the car business too. But like when it comes to like the outside of all the data, outside of all of what you do hands-on, what are some of the challenges that you've faced where you thought, this is it, we're not gonna survive this?
Some of the challenges is, let's be honest. I mean, I laugh all the time because that's one question that does come up. I think, Matt Koenig had it best. He's like, He's like, man, I don't know how you make data look sexy. And I start laughing. I go, it's funny you say that, because literally, if you think about someone coming out with a product and going to market, we have the least attractive product.
Right.
It's a dashboard with data in it. Who in their right mind wants to look at numbers all day long? Accountant, yes, sure. Those guys like to look at numbers.
Right.
But as a car guy, I'm like, even myself, sometimes I look at it and I go, what are we doing?
Right.
Right? Like what are we doing? Like, it's a dashboard. Who in their right mind, and that's the funny part. When you think about having a product, I would deem VistaDesk least likely to succeed if it was in a yearbook. You know what I mean? Because you'd be like, no, that's not going to happen, right? I mean,
if it was in a yearbook, that is so funny. Holy crap!
Like, people are laughing, like, he's right.
Yeah.
But again, so when you think about looking at it like in that lens, there's some truth to it. But what we're finding, and the reason I think that we're really achieving success is, well, it sucks and nobody wants to when you do it. And again, this comes back to life, right? Like, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
So if you really take the hard approach and look at your data and really seek to understand and connect the dots, the outcome works. You sell more cars, you find efficient ways to manage your business. And again, here's the other thing. In auto and anything, there are so many shiny objects. How do you find the shiny object that actually works? How do you hold the shiny object accountable?
Right.
Is the shiny object really the right shiny object for your consumer?
Right.
I mean, think about this for a second. We talk about, actually, we don't talk enough about fixed ops. Has anybody really challenged the service scheduler? Because if you think about it, there's some great ones and there's some not so great ones. There's a point of where the consumer says, I give up, I pick up the phone, and I'm just going to make my service appointment.
Yeah.
But nobody calls anything into question because they don't have the data. But let me ask you a question, though. Wouldn't it save money if you understood, hey, my phones are ringing, so I've got to put more manpower to it? No, you've got a broken tool that could create operational efficiency if you understood where the break was.
Yeah. I recently called the dealership that I bought my car from, and I said, hey, I think I need new shocks on the back, and I'll keep a car until the wheels fall off, man. I don't turn cars. And so I call, and the girl that answers the phone says, I said, could you transfer me to service? I want to get a quote on shocks. And she goes, yeah, hold on. She comes back on. She goes, I'm sorry, they're both out in the service bay. And I go, yeah. Okay, well, so what do we do here? And I don't know, and she's like, well, you could call back later, or I can take your number and have one of them give you a call. And I'm like, is this really happening? What are we talking? Like, page one of them. Like, what? Like,
oh, I've got one better than that. So
that's crazy.
A local dealer, and again, I'll play nice. Local dealer, I called him to get service. So I go, typical thing, I go to Google, right?
Yeah.
I get to Google My Business listing. I hit click to call. Boom, I call. Hey, this is Johnny in sales. How can I help you? I'm like, I'm calling for service, because it was the service, service number.
Yeah.
And because there was, service number. So I call and I'm like, okay, that's good. So basically, Johnny's cheated the system and has the GMV number routing to sales so he can get every at bat. So then I go through Johnny. Johnny then transfers me to the receptionist. The receptionist sends me on the loop-de-loop. By the time I get to the service manager, I'm like, hey, buddy, I got to be honest with you, man. It took me 4 minutes to get you.
Wow. That's crazy,
and here's where your process is broke. And he's like, huh. I'm like, so it's always funny when you get the little standard thing, well, we inspect what we expect. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
Because I just went through this.
No, it doesn't happen. And it blows me away, because I get an email a week later from that same dealership, service person or whatever they're called, trying to schedule me for service or get my... I'm like, no, y'all lost me, okay? I called the next dealership and they got me right in. So you lost me, forever.
Or that email you get, we want your car. I sold that 10 years ago.
Yeah, right. Right.
Oh, and by
What
the
are
way,
y'all tracking?
this is my like 20th attempt to opt out, and you still haven't opted me out.
Yeah, there's a federal law against that, but do you care? No. So, so, so okay. So there's a lot of people on here that watch the show that are in the car business, but there's the majority are not in the car business. They're in other businesses. And my question for you would be, what are some of the things that you face? Because I've been through, and we've all been through challenges running a company where you're like, this is it. I'm done. I'm dead. We're going bankrupt. Close the doors. Fire everybody. Get rid of,
Yep.
So, I mean, have you ever faced anything like that in your business where you were like, I don't know how we're going to survive this?
We any startup, you face it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right?
There comes a point of where you just kind of look at it and you go, hey, especially from a leadership perspective, you always kind of look at it of, hey, it's not about me, because you can easily look in the mirror and go, I quit. I throw up my hands, like I'm gonna walk away.
Yeah.
I go find another deal, like blah blah. We can come up with as many excuses as you want.
Yeah.
When you realize, hey, you're responsible for every person that's working with you.
Yep.
And their livelihood. So this isn't a, hey, I just get to phone it in. I don't get to just hang up the towel. So I think for me, that's always kept me grounded and humble is that it's not about me.
Right.
And at the same point in time, even coming home, I mean, I got a wife and 3 daughters. It's about them too. And it's about that piece where I also say too, part of my breakthroughs has been, my family. Yeah. There's those times where you just come home and you're just kind of like, man, I don't know what the next step's going to be, but they're still rooting for you. So when your support system's backing every play, you kind of do get to that point to where you just go, hey, I'm going to go under, over, or through the wall. I just don't care because I can do this, Right. And when you get through your own little pity party, you realize it's not as hard as you think it is.
Right.
And sometimes I always say, we look at we complicate everything. I mean, if you really look at it down to the science, 9 times out of 10, when you really look at the problem, you way overcomplicate it.
Right.
And you're really only solving the root problem when the surface problem, not the root problem, because you're so like in fire mode, firefight, instead of just taking if people would just take a deep breath and take a second, pull back from it, ask a few questions to yourself, ask a few questions to your team and your people, your customers, to understand what it is the real problem is, not just what they're first throwing at you. Go down a few levels. Then once you solve that, you propel. And I think that was the point of, with us at Vista. We're at a point where like people were leaving like hotcakes. I mean, we couldn't bring them in fast enough.
Wow.
And you start asking the question, you've got to take a second and ask the question. What is it? And it's simple things like, hey, this dashboard's amazing, but I don't know how to use it. Oh, well, that's light bulb,
Yeah.
And then we plug market strategists in place, and that changed the whole outcome.
Right.
So there's pieces, or hey, I don't see any actionable insights here. Okay, what are you looking for? I'm looking for attribution. Okay, well, what does that mean to you? Well, I'm really looking to see if what I'm paying for. Okay, it has nothing to do with attribution. What you're looking for is validation.
Right.
Great. Let's get to that. So I think sometimes it's easy to get into the knee-jerk mentality of the first thing you fire at me, I need to fix, right?
Yeah.
And I would say, I think females do a way better job at this than males, because all males want to do is fix.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't spend your life as a firefighter. Like, I'm sorry, you've got to take a deep breath.
Yeah.
So don't just fix the first thing that comes at you. Ask a few questions, hit the pause button. And I think that's helped us break through some serious walls, is that we've taken the time. Also, we have a philosophy and kind of mantra inside the business of, if it's working, break it.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, because how do you know it's really working?
Right. Dig deeper.
Dig deeper. And it really leads to really good operational efficiencies. And it helps even in platforming, because you've got to be able to think through scale and load. So you're constantly trying to figure out how to break the system.
Right. So so you've faced some of those challenges. One of the things that I always ask is this is like, again, we all hit those. There are people that hit those walls that can't get through them. They don't know what to do. The thing I would ask you is like those people that hit those walls that give up, that say I can't get through this. They go find something else. They do whatever. What do you think the number one reason is that causes people to stop, that makes them fail, so to speak? I hate to use that word because
no, but it's the right word because that's it right there.
Yeah.
It's fear of failure. People, it's funny. And you'll see it. You've seen it on social media. A lot of people are talking about David Goggins, right?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, if you want to understand mental toughness, then I would urge anybody that hasn't listened to the audiobook or read the book to go get the book.
Yeah.
Because it'll challenge your point.
Yeah.
We as human beings take the path of least resistance. We're a little bit like water, we'll find that area. And when it gets tough, we divert and find another area.
Yep.
So, what I would tell people is, you've got to stop being afraid of failure. Failure is everything that's happened for me in my career came from my greatest failures.
Right.
You don't always get it right, and you never will. We're not perfect.
Nope.
But if you're willing to accept and go all in, if you miss, you take that miss, you ask the question, what did I learn?
Right.
What would I have done differently? And how do I keep moving forward? And you go. If you want success, which is just a byproduct of the end game,
right,
is you've got to be willing to just go. You've got to execute. You can't sit there and talk about it all day. You've got to take the baby steps and keep moving it forward. And that will help that wall not be so big. If you just kind of sit there, it's just going to continue to stack up, and you're going to be like, man, I'm never getting over this giant wall. Yeah. You created it. It's your wall. You built it yourself.
Love that, dude. Love that. So if somebody were to, if somebody were to call you and say, I've done everything. I've hit this point in my life where I've done everything. My car was repoed last week. They're shutting the electric off tomorrow. I can't feed my kids. I don't know what else to do. What do I do? What do I do? What's the first thing you're gonna? Because and I know that it starts right there. It's But what are you gonna say to that person to help them get through that moment?
We've all been there. I've trust me, in my career, I've had the downsides where it was like, man, how are we gonna pay bills?
Right.
And there comes a point of you can go backwards and continue to say, oh my gosh, these things are being taken away. But here's the thing. Is your family still there? Is your spouse right next to you? Are those things still? Yes. Okay. So everything being taken away is what? Monetary. Guess what? That's the easiest thing to fix.
Yeah.
Because there's no shortage of opportunities. The problem is that we're just blind to them. It's funny. People are like, oh, Dan, you make it look easy. I'm like, no, it's hard work. I'm not gonna sell anybody on a pipe dream.
Right.
It's hard work. Be willing to put in the work. Be willing to be challenged. Be willing to be like, gosh, this is never going to end. Because on the flip side of it, once you start going, it does become easier.
Yeah.
And you do have this moment of where you're not so stressed out. I always kind of draw the analogy, people are like, oh, you make it look so easy. I'm like, you ever seen a duck on a crazy river? It looks pretty chill on top, but them feet underneath are going like 100 miles an hour. I'm like, right. That's how we move through life. Like, I get it. It looks easy. You're not seeing this.
That's right.
Because you gotta put in the work. You gotta be willing to, everybody wants to chase the light. Why don't you live in the darkness for a while?
Yep.
It'll make you stronger.
Yep. Totally agree.
Because you know what? You're going to be in the dark more than you're in the light.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, and I have, this friend of mine who is in law enforcement was telling me one day that he's like, yeah, I have this idea to do this business and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, dude, That's a great idea, actually. Why don't you do it? He's like, oh, I'm going to. I said, when? And he's like, as soon as I retire. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, I got to get my 20 years in or whatever first and be vested so I have that pension coming in. And then I'm going all in. And I'm like, dude, you chase down bad guys shooting bullets at you. Like, are you seriously kidding me? Like go do your business, man. Like, and because that's what he really, truly would love to be doing, but he won't do it. And that inside it bothers me. I don't understand what keeps people from, stuck there in that place and not chasing their dreams.
Because it's not a priority. I mean, I'll use a personal example. I would love to be fit. There's some dudes out there that are just fit, jacked, totally great shape.
Yeah.
I'm not one of them. and I dabble. I like food. It tastes good. Like, I'm telling you, everybody has a form of kryptonite or whatever you want to call it. But here's the thing, though.
Dude, that is hilarious. I love that example.
But here's the thing, though. If I'm being 100% self-aware, I'm telling you, it's just not a priority. It's just not a priority. So when I sit there and say, oh, I have a dream or I have a vision board or whatever the case may be, that's what I'm saying. All these guys are going to work, creating these things.
Yeah.
But they're not any closer to it because, yes, it's on a piece of paper. Yes, it's in front of me. But is it a priority? What is your why? That is it right there. If it's not happening, it's not a priority.
I mean,
because I'll tell you what, it becomes a priority when something comes in your way. If it's about making, like people are like, oh, I want to make a lot of money. Great. How are you getting there? What's your priority to do that? Because money's just a byproduct.
Right. It
Success is a byproduct. Like, it's so funny. We're so fixated. And the problem is like, okay, these are all byproducts. And in order to get to that you got to do something first. Action has to happen.
Right.
You got to put in the work. You got to put in the effort. You got to have your why figured out. What is my why? Why am I operating? What am I trying to achieve personally to hit the accomplishment button? It's like, oh, you sold a company. I'm like, I'm still working, friends, because my why is to go. My why is my family. My why is to unlock all my capabilities as a human being. I believe we do not untap a fraction of what our capabilities are.
Yeah.
So I am a curious creature. How much can I do? How far can I stretch myself? How much can I put on the plate? Like, feed me. If you want me to do one thing, I'm probably going to fail because my mind does not want to do one thing. That's not how I think.
But
I like to be fluid and keep going because, again, I'm a different, everybody's different. So stop, putting in the boxes.
You said your why is your family, and I want to address that. I want to ask you about that because, I mean, everybody has a family. Like, everybody loves their family and their kids and their wives and their husbands, and they. So I don't know.
Come on.
I've heard Grant Cardone talk about this. That's not enough of a why. There's got to be something else that's driving that. There's got to be something else that's the driving force. I'm not saying that that's not a great why. It's an awesome why. I have two little girls and a wife, and I love them and work my ass off for them and all of that. But what else? There's something else that drives guys like you and me. What is that? It's not just family.
No, family, and there's a piece to that. Family is. And I think that's a miss piece is that people look at family as a driver. I look at it as the fuel.
Oh, I love that.
Because here's the thing. Consider yourself like let's just I love analogies, right? So you're a nuclear reactor, right?
Yep.
Family gives you that endless horsepower.
Yeah.
It's constantly producing energy. That love, that feed, that everything. When you've got people backing you, loving you, believing in you, your ability, drive, and capabilities far exceed what you think you can do.
Right. Yeah.
So if you look at some of the trends, and again, hypothesis, right? So Grant talks about the last 5 years, right? I think have been his. Think about that for a second. Last 5 years.
It's crazy.
Let's see. But hold on. He's building an empire with his wife, his love, his everything.
Yep.
He's got two remarkable young ladies that
Yep.
love him and he loves them. That reactor's working.
Yep, you're right.
So when I say that, it's not that, oh, I want, like I gotta say, guys have got it all twisted. I'm gonna leave a legacy. Hey, when you wake up and you kiss your kids goodbye, you look them in the eyes, you're looking at your legacy.
Oh,
It's
man.
not about it's not about what you have in possession.
Right.
It's not about the car you're driving. It's not about your bank account. It's those eyes that you're looking back into because that's your legacy.
Wow. Wow.
So when you talk about family, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's what I pour back into them. It's me leading as an example. I got 3 girls.
Yeah.
Man, I'm buying stock in weapons. I'm doing whatever I can. But at the same point in time, I understand I have one mission.
Right.
If I am the vision of what they will look at downstream or who they might marry or what they look for in a relationship, then I better set that bar really, really, really high. So it means I'm on every day. There's no break. If you think your kids aren't paying attention, you are missing the boat.
Amen.
They are sharp as a tack, and they're watching every step you make, how you interact with your spouse, how you navigate challenges in your life.
Yep.
When you're on your laptop, they're looking over your shoulder, figuring out what you're doing. You're working on a presentation. Suddenly they go, hey, how was that? How was this? My 12-year-old blows my mind. She asks me questions. I'm like, you were paying attention? Oh, this is true. So I'm just saying family is critical in the achieving. And I think that, to your point, sometimes you can't answer what really drives us because we're not in tuned enough to really understand what it is. Right. I would just tell you that my thought process now is, how many memories can I create every day?
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I love, my wife just called you a smart guy. I would have to agree.
That is a huge compliment. That is a huge compliment. I will take that one all day.
But, and I know that, recently, and I don't know how recently, but you sold your company that you've worked many years to build up. You sold it for billions and billions of dollars.
Stop.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, it's been a blessing and a ride. I mean, to think that, 2 years ago, because I came on NADA February 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And we sold in November. So to beat the 2-year mark, I mean, we're aligned with a fantastic company. Wow. I couldn't be more excited to be part of the Call Wars team, Callbox, Century Interactive, that big stuff there.
Yeah.
Great team. And there's so much opportunity, and people are like, because it's funny, my friends are like, oh, you're retiring. I'm like, I'm just getting started.
Right.
I always tell people, I'm like, I'm the kid thriving for the big Lego box. You just gave me more Legos. I'm going to go play, and awesome. So it's just an absolute blessing. I'm enjoying the ride. There's so much good stuff that we're, working on and integrating the teams. It's funny, people are like, oh, it's got to be amazing. I'm like, man, it's just like any relationship. There's good days and bad days. Right. There's days that I'm sure, like, I drive people on the team, they're going, this guy's just, and does this guy work? All these different things, right? Because it was like, he's on social media. But it's one of those things where everybody's got to get adjusted and understand everybody operates differently. For me, it's funny because I went from having, no one to answer to a lot of people to answer to. So this is life, man. And you've got to always be on the adjustment. But if you're going to try and, force your way into everything, you're going to lose, man. You've got to be able to adapt and mold and adjust and grow. And you've got to be self-aware.
Totally
That's
agree,
critical.
Man. Dude, that is freaking awesome. And I don't know if that's the ultimate goal for everyone to build their company into something that they can sell down the road. Maybe it is. Mine is about having something that my daughters can move into and work in as well at some point down the road. So, again, it's that legacy you were talking about. It's that. So what what's and we're just about finished up here, but what is the number one again, forget about the car business. Forget about any specific kind of business. Just someone that is. What's the number one piece of advice you would give anyone that really wants success in their life? And I'm not talking just financially. I'm talking about in every area. What's the number one piece of advice you would give them?
A couple pieces. Number one, be nice.
Amen.
And I'm sorry, people are like, oh, that just sounds soft. No, it's real. I mean, I attribute a lot of my successes because be nice.
Yeah.
There's a time to not be nice, and there's ways to do it better than most. Some people just feel like they've got to go through and torch people, leapfrog over people, do all these things, and it's like in business, you can be nice.
Yeah.
Have integrity, right? And most importantly, stop talking. Lead with your actions, not with your words.
Wow.
I tell people all the time when it comes to interview time or whatever comes, they say, as a leader, this, that. I go, listen, I tell my team all the time, I can sit here all day and talk to you, but at the end of the day, I'm going to be defined by my actions. So why don't we just cut to the chase and let my actions as a leader define whether you like me or not?
Love that, dude. I love that. A friend of mine used to say, I hear what you say, I'll believe what you do. Right?
Amen. Because we can all sit there and sell each other on what we're going to do. The reality is, once it comes to doing it, it's going to be a whole different ballgame.
Totally. Completely different. Yeah.
And Mike Tyson always says it changes once you get punched in the mouth.
Yeah, right. Right. Everybody has a plan.
The first time you get popped in the mouth, everybody has a plan.
Right. Right.
But hey, welcome.
Yeah.
Life is that Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Life will pop you in the mouth. What are you going to do?
That's it, man. You got to. I totally agree with you, man. Totally agree, dude. You are you're a badass and a good dude. You're good.
Thank you.
And I had a blast sitting with you there for a while at the 10X Growth Con, dude. You like to cut up. I forget what it was. You were Shaka Dyson was over on the other side of the rail. Remember that? That was. You guys were cracking me up. Holy crap.
Listen, we got one ticket at this show. You might as well live it.
That's right, man. That's right. Well, I had a good time hanging out with you in Miami, and dude, you're a great guy. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy guy, so thank you for taking the time to be on here. And yeah, man, let's see. Maybe we'll get you back on again down the road. See what's happening here in the next year or two.
I would love to. Thank you again, man. Really appreciate it. This was absolutely a blast.
Yeah, you rock, brother. Thank you. Thank you to everybody who's been on here. We've had some amazing people on here. Thank you to everyone who's shared this out. Thank you for being on here. And Dan, thank you. I appreciate you, man. Don't hang up yet. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye-bye.